Welcome back, everybody, to Aligning with Success. We've had a few really cool calls, I think, the last few calls over the last couple of weeks that rather than getting into too much new content, which I do want to get into something because I think is really important, we addressed the idea of the ABC and how and when to use it. We will come back to some of the discussions, the early discussions that we've been talking about that I think are pretty important, plus the new tool that we're using to help people get started. But before we do that, we've got Tanya on the line. Tanya, would you mind unmuting? I'd like to hear what you had to say before everybody else joined, because I think that's pretty cool. Some testimony of your recent progress in NECAN. So you joined when?
I joined the end of October 2017.
Okay.
My intention was just to join and sell the products to my clients for massage and Reiki, and I was slowly doing that. I had no interest in the business, to be quite honest, and I had told Madeline that for a few years. 8 months later, forward 8 months later, well, prior to that, let me go back. I fell in love with the water. The water made me feel really good, and then I got into using the Jade Greenzymes, and I'm diabetic, and I'm overweight, and thyroid issues. So the Jade Greenzymes really helped me with my immune system. I was able to get off a few medications. I no longer wake up with pain. I'm not in discomfort, and I wake up energized, and I go through the day. And I lost 25 pounds the last 3 months, just dedicated with just the Jade Greenzymes twice a day. And the last month I lost my employment, so I am without a job, and I really looked at this opportunity with NECAN because I really told myself I'm 54 years old and I've been doing the same thing all these years, going out looking for a job, working hard for someone else, and then, you know, with our county we live in, it's high percentage of agencies closing, losing funding, and so forth. And that's what's happened to me. And this last job, I worked very hard. I love the job, but unfortunately, personalities, we just didn't click. And so I was let go. And I thought, well, you know what, God closed the door. It's time for me to try something different, come out of my comfort zone, and do something that I haven't done before, because what I've normally done all these years has got me the same place I've been every so many years, with its losing its job or being, you know, the agency closing, losing funding, you name it, it's happened. So I just decided to try something different, and this opportunity's been presented to me before. And Madeline's been very consistent about trying several times. And this time I really listened to Madeline. I really watched Madeline, and I just really admire her, respect her, and she has a beautiful, compassionate personality and heart. And my heart was always to help people with their healing process, for themselves, for their bodies to be healed and feel better. So I love the products, what they did for me, and I thought, you know, she has the same love to help others get better.
So what's the, sorry to interrupt, but what's the business done for you? You mentioned something that I thought was interesting, something about tripling.
Yeah, I think last month we checked, I did close to 100. And this month I had decided I wanted to triple it. I think we're close. I'm close to, as of Friday, close to tripling it.
At mid-month.
At mid-month.
Tripling?
My residual income.
Your income. Okay, cool. Yeah. Excellent.
And that's just with NECAN. And I did bring on one person I sponsored one person as a consultant. And she's looking already to share NECAN as a business. And so I'm excited.
And we're excited for you. That's fantastic. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That kind of brings up what we were talking about over the last couple of weeks in terms of getting someone started, in terms of the past doesn't equal the future. So I just wanted to throw this out and see, first of all, if there was any ahas that anybody picked up in since these last conversations, because I think they were pretty impactful. on understanding this process of how we draw into ourselves like frequency. So whatever frequency you're on, that's what you're going to attract. That was one of the major points that we wanted to really get across. The process of how we manifest. So if you've got some ideas of what's happened, maybe some testimonies of what's happened for you in the last week or two with respect to this dialogue, because it's kind of pointless if we keep going in circles and nothing actually changes. Wouldn't you agree? So we got an influx of new information, and we want to see if this new information is being applied and if you're seeing some effects from it. So anyone want to jump in and share with me or share with the group something that you've observed since, or something in the way of a click that you got, an aha that you got?
I can share, Michael. You know, the importance of the ABC, we talk about that a lot. And when I was in Toronto last week, and you were willing to meet with my son and his girlfriend about Niken, she was so impressed. I mean, she was already positively inclined, but that three-way really locked her in. She's coming on board as a consultant. She may not go full board into the business right now, but she absolutely loves the product. She's been a customer. She's ordered a few products, and she wants to put in a fairly major order this week. So she's going to come in as a consultant to do that. And, you know, when people are that excited, the big flag that comes up for me is they're going to puke Niken all over everybody, right? So she's already talking to people, and I said, if I can give you one piece of advice, Inga, it is that you really don't know enough about Niken to educate people yet. So when you talk to people, just say that I'm really new at this. I would like to introduce you to my sponsor in Vancouver or my mentor in Toronto. And I probably said that 4 times. Whether it has, you know, really sunk in or not, I'm not sure. The future will tell. But that's been really key for me, because sometimes in the past I've just let people do their own thing. And when people do their own thing, sometimes they're off on a trajectory that isn't very productive for them. So just that awareness for me of the importance of educating new people about ABCs right away.
Well, we're totally going to get into that today. I think it's really important when to apply. But one thing I might recommend, Maggie, for you to sort of jump in and make sure she doesn't get too far out there on her own, is to ask her if there's anyone she's spoken to that she would like to introduce you to. That's kind of a way of saying, if you've talked to somebody, now would be a good time for you to introduce them to me.
I'll do that. And also to you if it's more appropriate, because of, you know, where she's situated and, you know, business people in Toronto. So yeah, I'm quite happy to do that. And thank you for that nudge.
Okay, cool. Anyone else have an aha based on our recent conversations, or even the new tool?
I'd just like to comment on what's happened with Tanya. She's the one that has been here every month, along with the others, with a product focus. But as that momentum is picked up, and the speakers, as you've mentioned, Mike, the past couple of weeks, that has increased the awareness of everyone in the room, and seeing that, and actually the new person that she sponsored is a doTERRA representative. And when Tanya was interested in the retail sale, because being a direct, she's a new executive right now, by the way, but she was interested in that retail sale because of being unemployed. Well, she started asking all kinds of questions about reimbursement because she understood network marketing. So that kind of interaction and what's happened has really been a sequence of the various different events. So being at the events, the consistent and improvement in what the Power A's are saying, instead of just watching all the slides, all the PowerPoints, which we have other times to watch, has been extremely helpful as the year has advanced.
Okay. I'm still looking for a nugget. Any nuggets out there? Any aha? Okay. Well, I don't want to make any assumptions.
Mike?
Yep.
Mike, this is Laurie Jones. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, you know I had an aha, but mine has been an attitude and a mind shift. And the attitude shift came because I did the 12-week I can. And that is life-changing. And it's just too much to even go into, except now I know I can.
Well,
And
some people don't know what you're talking about. So to give them the benefit of the doubt, what are you talking about? Where do you go to this for this I can?
It's actually a live. It's a Saturday morning live, and it's on the internet. And Vance Rogers has it out there. You and another gentleman have put together a 12-week course. It's free. It's going to be coming up another couple more weeks. We're going to start again. And you are committed to doing certain things every week. And one of the things you do is you commit to memory some statements that really shift your mind, and you don't do negative. And that is, if you take away anything, that's the huge thing. You don't do negative. And what you realize is that your mind actually has pathways in it, that if it was negative and you're now doing positive, you make new pathways, and your mind starts to think positive before it thinks negative. And it's really amazing. And you put your mind to it, and it really can happen. And so after I spoke with you, of course, and I knew that there were some things that I needed to commit to and make some goals and really be held accountable, I just woke up this morning and said, I'm going to find a business builder today. I know I'm going to find a business builder. I just need to know who that is, because I know that there's one out there, and I'm going to find one. And I also said to myself, I need to help somebody also, someone who's hurting, who may need the products. I want to help 2 people today. And so, of course, I found them. And where? It was at my eye appointment. The gal that checked me in and got me situated, and then the gentleman that helped me with my sunglasses to put all that stuff in. And it was absolutely not surprising, but always amazing. It's just like these products, the Nikan products. I'm never surprised, but I'm always amazed at what they do and how they do it. And so and I know you use that word paradigm shift, but I always say it's a game changer. It's the I can, and then the mind shift. And then the other night before I went to bed, I said, I'm going gold. And I pictured myself in a royal purple pantsuit outfit, walking across the stage, Suzanne, there. And that is what I thought of as I fell asleep that night. I woke up literally, and I was looking through my closet for my pantsuit the next morning. And I just know there's a shift in my mind and in my spirit. And so it's life-changing. Absolutely life-changing.
Lori, I have to tell you, I feel the vibration in your voice. I mean, it's coming straight through. Everybody's sensing this. And this is the tone of voice that I got from my daughter, Sophia. When I was mentioning to you guys about this shift in her that was monumental and absolute, it's that feeling. I can feel the feeling coming through your voice like her, to the point where she was literally giddy. I mean, she had to control her laughter because everything she said made her so happy. So that's that shift. It's kind of when you know. It's hard to describe, but I wish it for everyone that you practice. I mean, one of the things that will help you get this information, get it, is to just simply do it. And in the I Can program, they teach in the program the repetition, because there's 2 ways that we actually can set those new pathways. One is through spaced repetition, and the other one is through shock. Now, I don't think anybody wants shock therapy on this call, or be shocked by something, but it does work. Paradigm shift happens when somebody is shaken loose from their reality. But we would rather do it in a conscientious way, as thinking, reasonable human beings, and that would mean applying the higher faculties, one of which is reason, the other one is imagination, and will, using our willpower to be steadily focused on the creation of the outcome that we want to create. And any tools that you can apply to help you stay on that channel. For me, I don't know about you, but I used to only listen to things in my car that had something to do with reorienting my mind or my vibration, and I've been doing that again. I started doing that again. I finished the A.L. Williams audio. I'm on to the ABCs of Success with Bob Proctor, and I'm just going to keep doing that. It's actually my daughter sort of stimulated this in me because she's now on the Think and Grow Rich. In fact, she sent me a text picture yesterday. She's got 3 new copies of Think and Grow Rich, one for her sister, and 2 more that she's got friends that she's giving to. So she's now becoming a crusader for this information. You see where that's going. But the point is, the shift happened, and it happened because it was a real willingness. There was a real desire for something to come through, some type of a breakthrough. So, there's a really good book that was written some time ago called Ask and It Is Given. And I think that's a really important statement, that if we're not asking, then we're going to be blocked. And if we are asking, you will receive. One of the things that I've noticed lately, and try this yourself, this might be a little example of what I'm talking about where you're going to blow your mind. When somebody asks somebody's age, all I have to do is hear the question or say the question in my mind, and instantly, and I mean instantly after I hear the question or say the question, I hear the age. In my mind, I hear the age. So I shout it out loud. Now, I never used to do that. I never used to say it out loud because you think I'm just making this up. I'm imagining this. How do I know what it is? So I stopped doing that some time ago when I noticed that what I was thinking instantly after, like it's not even I'm thinking, it's just you say the question and the answer is there. I'm not even thinking about the answer. You just say the question and the answer is there. I started hearing the answer and not dismissing it, and I'm right every time. And it's as recently as yesterday again. So it's pretty cool when you start listening to that quiet voice inside that's tuned in or connected to the higher frequency. So when you ask, you're also connected to the answer. And now it's just a question of listening. Now that might take some practice because we're really not in the habit of being quiet. We're surrounded by noise. We're surrounded by people. We're surrounded by distractions. We're surrounded by bing, but the king, at the ding on your phone and everything. It's hard to stay quiet long enough to actually listen for the answer. But you can do that. You can make a practice of doing that in the morning and the evening. But the point is that shift, that once you have this shift, then you now know who's in charge. Mm-hmm. And once you get that connection, it's like liberating. All of a sudden, you're not sitting there worrying about anything because you then realize, oh my God, I've been doing this all along. Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to use this power. I'm not going to wield this power unconsciously or foolishly. I'm going to do it with consciousness, on purpose, with direction. And I'm going to use my will to control. There's only one thing you need to control, what you focus your attention on. Now, if you want to hear the negative, if that's going to be the thing that you get focused on or attracted to, then you're going to harmonize with that, and that's what you're going to experience, wherever those thoughts and feelings are coming from. Could be your best friend, your spouse. I know there's challenges when you're surrounded by other people, when you're involved in other relationships, that those thoughts are hard to manage when you're trying to be up here and they're down here. So how do you manage them? Well, you manage your thoughts is what you do. You don't manage other people's thoughts. You manage your thoughts. Anyway, so congratulations, Lori. I can tell that that's the frequency you're on, and keep going because it just gets bigger and brighter from there. You're going to have to set some bigger goals, I think. Wait, I saw somebody's hand. I think it was Carol was first and then Suzanne. Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, so the aha for me is that when those thoughts come in, when I'm trying to be here and I'm going there, writing it down, which is an assignment you gave last week to a few of us.
Would you share the assignment that I gave?
To write down 10 every day, in the morning, write down 10 gratitudes, and they should be the same every day.
So the same 10. So 10 different things that you're grateful for, and to write it down every single day for the next 3 weeks. And I also suggested that you might massage the words as it goes along, because you'll get better at articulating what you really want to say.
Mm.
And so go ahead, Carol.
Well, so, and I was not perfect in that. And I just kept coming back. And then when any of those thoughts came, for sure, I just wrote down the gratitude, and my whole vibration changed, and my whole way of showing up changed, and things that I couldn't even imagine popped into my head, and I did them, and it's wonderful. So it was what I'm grateful for too is that I was not perfect, and the minute I shifted that, corrected that, the response in how I was in my being shifted, and it's amazing. It's wonderful.
Fantastic. Suzanne, thank you, Carol.
So this is my little book where I'm writing. And the second thing I wrote down was, I'm so grateful that Lori has pushed through silver and is now on to gold and platinum.
Okay.
So I know that there's a connection in the timing of this exercise and Lori talking to you after I started this exercise, and her process and progress through the I Can program. So it's been amazing that when she told me that she had a very powerful conversation with you, and then she shared some information with me, I knew what was already in my book. And I've spent a lot of time in the morning and at night, not only writing these, but visualizing and experiencing them happening. And that has put me to sleep each night. I don't even get through the 10. Then if I wake up, I go back into, let's choose another one out of the 10, and puts me back into sleep. So it's been very powerful.
Now, I can only encourage you guys to try this. It seems like you've heard this all your life, and you know that other people believe it's effective. And it sounds like it's a good idea. And maybe you've even tried it for a day or two, but then you quickly fall back into the habit, which you're in, and all habits are equal, so it doesn't matter what it is. You're just in the habit maybe of not doing it. But that's where the willpower comes in. That's where the higher faculties come in of the mind, which is your ability to be self-disciplined. And so one of the things maybe you affirm is that I'm so grateful that I'm a person who can give myself a command and follow it. Because at the end of the day, that is your power. It's your ability to be self-directed. And I think that's what this business is really why people, or this is the business why that attracts people, is because of the opportunity to be self-directed in our life. So if you want to try something new and effective, maybe 10 is too many for you, do 5. At least 5 things that you are grateful for in your life. And these things can be current things, or they can be things that you're aspiring to have in your life. But because you state them as something you are grateful for having, you are automatically applying the law of attraction. Let me explain again. If this is my current reality down here, and I'm being grateful for something that's up here, an imagined reality, if I'm in the state of gratitude, I'm actually on this channel. I'm on this frequency. I'm not on this frequency. If this is the thing I'm grateful for, and I'm stating it as something I am grateful for, then I'm stating in the present, and I'm on that frequency. That's Just imagine somebody you love and boom, you go into the frequency. So imagine that thing and you're boom in that frequency. Now, whatever you are on, whatever channel you're on, whatever frequency you're on, is in harmony with stuff of that frequency. So all the things that you are in harmony with at this channel, on this frequency, you start to draw to yourself, because that's the law of vibration. Birds of a feather flock together. The law of vibration means like tends to like. We attract things that are similar. And so whatever you're thinking on, whatever you're feeling on, when you're making a gratitude statement, you're feeling something, because the word I am grateful for instantly puts you into a frequency. Mm-hmm. That frequency of gratitude is I call it the channel to God. It's the direct connect. Because whatever you're grateful for, boom, you're setting up the channel. Now make the declaration. What are you grateful for? And as clear as you can make it. That's why if you're going to write it every day for the next 3 weeks, you will notice, I'm noticing it, I'm doing it myself, you'll notice the words change ever so slightly, but they do change to become more clear, more pronounced as to what it is you're grateful for, which means I'm getting a clear picture. And the clearer the picture is in my mind, what does that mean? I'm on that frequency. And I'm honing it right into to the details, which means whatever is in harmony with that is being attracted to me. Now, it's simple physics, but it's also metaphysics. Meta being mind, physics being the application or the science of mind. So there you go. There's something you can do right now that you can apply in your business. What are the gratitude statements that you want to make? Get a little booklet. It's nice to have a separate book that you can make your statements in, so that it literally becomes that thing now you do. It becomes part of, it's like a diary. A diary is something that people covet. So this is something you'll keep your gratitude statements in. And that way you'll be more regular with it. You'll be very protective of this book. And so I think that you will start to experience what these guys are experiencing, amazement. You will shock yourselves. You will start to experience stuff that will literally surprise you. And then I have to remind you, don't be surprised. It's just the law.
Mike?
Yep.
The challenge I've had with the 10 statements of gratitude, I have one of the cards that Bob Proctor gave us years ago, I'm so happy and so grateful for. And so that is the way I start out on each one. Well, I took a lot of time thinking about my first 10 statements of gratitude. And that was fine for the first day. The second day, when I went to write them down again, I had 10 different ones I wanted to write down. So then I'm looking at it and saying, okay, I need to finesse this. I need to pick out the 10 most important things I'm grateful for and stick with those. But each day there was something else that was a really powerful feeling of being grateful. So how do you deal with that if your mind is just...
I'll tell you exactly how you deal with that. What are the higher faculties?
Yeah.
Self-discipline. So the subconscious mind is playing a real good game with you. It says, but I'm doing what I was told to do. I'm doing gratitude statements. No, you're not doing what I told you to do. I said the same gratitude statements.
Mm-hmm. I know.
So what's the discipline part of this?
The same gratitude statements, but I've got to pick out the 10 most powerful gratitude
Then
statements.
just pick the 10 that you have today and do those 10 for the next 3 weeks and no other 10.
Okay.
So you make a decision, because when you make the decision at that moment, you flip the switch. When you're undecided because you've got this one and this one and this one and this one, now you're in the state of wishy-wash, which can keep you going for decades.
No man's land.
And most people are in the habit of thinking good thoughts that are completely random. It's good to go north today. It's great to go south today. It's good to go east today. It's good to go west today. And where did I end up going? Nowhere. So just choose one, make a decision, focus, use your will, and then get the result. Because it's on the results you're going to build.
Yeah.
One result leads to another result, and another, and another. And so all of a sudden you become somebody who is aware of your potential, your power, and your ability to manifest. That's the key. Once you own this, then you start setting higher and higher goals. There used to be a time when I used to set goals to break 1 silver per leg per month. That was my goal. And then I would sponsor people and they'd go silver in a week. And I thought, man, we still have 3 weeks. I'm sure I could do better than silver in a week, maybe gold in a month. So I did that a couple times. And then I thought, well, if I did gold in a month, why not platinum in a month? And so I put it out there. 3 times I was able to help somebody go platinum in their first month. Now, if you only thought silver or senior, or I guess executive now, but if you only thought that thing, whatever that thing is, you're going to be in harmony with the thoughts of that thing. And so you're going to see that thing and the thoughts that relate to that thing. But if you stretch and you start looking at it from this point of view, what's going to come into view? The things that are in harmony with that thing. You guys remember the story I talk about the blue cars and the red cars. You stand on a street corner and I say, count the number of cars that drive by in the next 30 minutes, the number of cars that are red. And I come back to you after 30 minutes and I ask, okay, how many cars were red? And you tell me exactly how many cars were red. And then I say, well, how many of them were blue? And you're like, what? Blue? Why not? Why didn't you see the blue cars? Because your reticular activation system, the thing that's trained to see what you're asking the mind to see, was only observant of the things that it was focused on. Even though the blue was there, the black was there, the white was there. So all these things are there in our life. We're surrounded by people. We're surrounded by events, circumstance, and so forth. But what do we see? It's what we're tuned in on. That's what we see. If we see debt and bills, and that causes fear and worry, well, now fear and worry, debt and bills are in your conscious mind. You feel the feeling of debt and worry. Now you're vibrating on the frequency of that. And according to the law, you attract what you're in harmony with. And then comes the flat tire and the refrigerator breaks and so on and so forth. And you think, oh, why does this always happen to me? And more of the same. When instead you could have just as easily have said to yourself, the past is not a reflection of the future, or the future is not a reflection of the past doesn't equal the future, and you just snap, change the channel. You just change the channel. You say, oh yeah, but Mike, I can't ignore the flat tire. Fix the flat tire, change the channel. Any other ahas? We're almost out of time and I didn't get into, well, let me just go ahead and get into this. About ABCs. When to apply an ABC. When is the most effective time? You guys jump in on this. So if you got an answer to this, there's no wrong answer. I just want some feedback for the benefit of all. When is the best time to get an A involved? Suzanne says ASAP. Okay, we need context. Okay, let me give an example of context. You call me up and you say, hey, Mike, I've got somebody I'd like you to do an ABC call with. Great. And I'll ask you the simple question, what step are they in? I need to know because the role of the A is to move the person to the next step. So what step are they in? What do they know? Now, we've gone over this a lot of times on this call, the process. The partnering process consists of 3 conversations. The first conversation, anybody? I see lips moving. Anybody? First conversation establishes what?
What?
Why?
Why. Always start with why. The second conversation establishes?
How?
How?
Belief.
Which is belief, yeah. How can I get this done, this why of mine? and you build belief that the Nikan vehicle can help them get that done. So it's the how. And then the last conversation is
What?
what? What's it going to take? What do I need to invest? What do I need to do to get this thing off the ground and running? So why, how, what, those are the three conversations. Now, if you get an A, what is the role of the A? Anybody?
Validate.
Validate. Anybody else? Is that it?
Take them to the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. Move them to the next step. So the role of the A is to validate and keep them moving in the process to the next step. Because what we want to do is get them through the three conversations, after which they can make a decision. So any other thoughts about the role of the A? So we got validate the information and get it moving to the next step. What other role can an A play?
Different
Elevate.
perspective from the original sponsor.
What's that?
Add to the perspective from the original sponsor. Like the prospect is hearing another voice.
Expand the vision.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of under the category of validation, but yeah, they can they validate and expand the vision somewhat. Yeah, that's for sure. So we got expand and validate the vision, the information. We've got move them to the next step. We've got what do we got?
Validate.
Validate. Okay. Anything else?
Model the
Edify.
power of the ABC through duplication.
I'm sorry. The role of the A is to what?
Well, show them that the process that we use is important and the ABC is central to that. If they haven't experienced an ABC, they won't even understand what that is and why they would use it.
Well, so the application of the ABC inherently shows them the power and the importance of it. But I'm an A. You've brought me in. What is my job? Okay, there I am. I'm in. I'm in an ABC now. What is it that I'm supposed to be doing?
To give us information, to give the B information. C.
To give the C information. So to give information, to validate information, to expand the vision, and to move them to the next step. I would say that's the all-encompassing role of the A. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a person, it could be a video, it could be a website, it could be a tool. That's the all-encompassing importance. It's third-party credibility, third-party validation. Now, when should an A, so we know what an A's role is. When should an A be introduced to a C? Any questions?
Well,
go ahead.
Well, what I learned recently from you is at the what on the Z to move them toward a partner when they've already got information and some understanding.
Okay,
But
so that's the role of an A. I would say because we're talking about the lock-in step, you know, that's kind of around the place of the lock-in step where they're moving from being a consultant to being a partner. You're going to need to leverage an A that is very business-minded. That's a more business-minded conversation, A. Okay? And by the way, you don't have to limit your process to one A. The more A's, the better. The more A's, the better. Okay? Because that gives them multiple points of view, multiple exposure. It creates familiarity. It creates a sense of belonging. It's very powerful when you do multiple A's. But we can do an A at various steps along the process. Which are the steps along the process that an A is most utilized?
It can depend on who you're speaking to. If you have a physician candidate that wants to hear from another physician, you may want to do that early on to introduce them so that they hear from a person.
But let's leave it in the context of there's three conversations that have to happen. Does the A go before the first conversation, during the first conversation, after the first conversation? That's an example. Yes?
The first conversation.
It's Michelle.
Yes.
I believe it depends on the the B. How familiar are they? How confident are they to discover the C's why? If they are not in a position to do that, then let's do an entrepreneurs club or the old 21 club, where that B can learn how to discover the why and the how and the what.
Okay.
Learning that process. So, right, it all depends on the individual.
What Michelle's referring to is if you have a B that's brand new, I'm going to limit to brand new because I'm not available to be an A in the first conversation for everybody. So where is Mike DiMuccio going to lend himself as an A in the first conversation? When would that happen? Who would that happen with? I'm sorry, go ahead.
After the third conversation with the B has with the C, then I would refer them. I would.
Okay, so you're confident in the first couple of conversations. You know you can get through that, and then you would
I don't
bring
want
in.
to waste anyone's time, so I'm going to make sure that this person is really has an interest, one, and that they would be dedicated. I just don't want to get Joe Schmo down the street and they're not going to do the work.
Right. Okay. So that's a really good answer. Because if it's somebody like me who is on demand and I have a lot of roles to play, then that might be, I would appreciate that. But if I'm sponsoring somebody brand spanking new, if I just sponsored somebody brand spanking new and they have their $1 million list set out and we've got, go ahead, Ruth.
I would want my A to come in earlier. Because I've done my job, they signed up, they want to do the business, but I want them to know that there's people that are stronger than me that can help them, that I'm not the only resource for them. So I prefer to have the A's sooner than later.
How soon?
So I have one that's just signed up, and I'm thinking of figuring out who to match her up with to talk about the business, because that's what she wants. And I want to do it like this week. So you just got the compensation plan because she asked me for it.
Wait. So you want to have your B talk to an A?
I want to have my C. I'm the B. I want to have my C talk to an A.
Wait,
right?
you said you just signed somebody up. Are you you're the?
So I'm the B, and I just signed somebody up. So
they're the B. You're the A.
No, I want to bring in an A. I want because she signed up, but I want her to talk to somebody that's been in the business, that's been successful.
Okay, so that's validation. So now what you want to do is you're having the conversation. You're now in the, are they a consultant or a partner? You're in that step. You're in the last conversation step where we need to be a little bit more specific about what do you want to do with this business. And so you want to leverage with somebody who has business experience, some credibility, some knowledge about how to guide them in terms of a launch strategy and to make the recommendation.
Besides me, because they've already heard besides me, because they need to hear from somebody else.
Absolutely. So you're in the last conversation stage, going from consultant to partner. That's where you're going to do the lock-in, and that lock-in could be an ABC, it could be an event, whatever, but you're going to actually make it happen because you need it to happen. That's great. But if you're brand spanking new, you just sponsored somebody, or you just sponsored somebody brand new, and they have their list ready. They've not done this before. They've not had a conversation, not even once. They just have their list. So what is it that you plan to do yourself as their sponsor? In the case of Mike DiMuccio, if you have a list, I want to help you qualify that list and narrow it down to the top 20 names on that list. And then even more so to the top 10 names. And then at that point, we're going to have a conversation, you and me, with each name on that list. And ultimately, I'm going to ask you, do you want to call them yourself? Do you want to call them with me on the phone or and just listening? Or do you want to call them with me but introduce me so that I can help you with this first contact for the top 10, because I want you to have some familiarity with how that goes. And of course, we use the contact and invite script. So instead of you saying, I'm calling you because I really like you and admire you and so forth. I'm going to say on your behalf, Suzanne's got us on the phone because she said to me that you're somebody she really admires and respects. So I'm going to say what you would have said if you called on your own. I'm going to help you in those top 10. But guess what? They're the top 10. They're not a waste of my time if they're your top 10. But I'm not going to just go randomly to any call that you want to make unless they're pre-qualified, they're pre-screened based on the $1 million list, how we qualify a name. Why? Because number one, time is precious. Number two, we're going to be duplicating everything we do. So if I'm in the habit of making myself available for anybody, anytime in terms of random calls that are not qualified or pre-qualified, then that's the habit you're going to be in. So in the case of a brand new person who I sponsored, I have a responsibility to give them the best start possible, which means I want them to put me in front of their best contacts possible as soon as possible, which means I'm going to help them, even if it means me making the phone call with them in those top 10. But if we take it to the next level, which is they've been doing this for a while, or they've had their top 10 and we've gone through this, then I need to stand back and let them make the initial call. They may bring me in after that because now they may be wanting to leverage, but now the prospect has some context. They have some idea that we're going to be talking about business. We're going to be talking about something that's important to them, that why, that they may have already articulated to the B in that first opening call, in the contact and invite call. Go even further down. The general population. You get a phone call, somebody wants you to be an A. What do you want to know? Ruth, somebody calls you out of the blue, could be your downline, could be your cross line, doesn't matter, they call you. Ruth, I'd like you, could you do a call with me? I'd like you to be an A. What do you need to know?
I need to know where they are in the process. I need to know how much they know, where they're at, products they have, whatever.
What if I said to you, Ruth, they don't know anything?
I could introduce them. I don't have a problem with that. I can definitely.
What if it was me calling? It was me calling you and say, Ruth, they don't know anything. You would say, what's the matter, Mike? Can't catch your tongue?
Yeah, so I think that if somebody calls and really is at the very beginning, then I would, doing the three-way, they can learn from me asking the questions. Why do you want this? What attracted you?
Wait. They don't know yet. They don't know anything. So I don't even know how the conversation to lead up to the phone calls happened. You don't know that either. So there needs to be something established before that call actually happens.
Right.
What do you think has to be established?
They need to know if there's a need or a want that they want to even.
There's got to be a motivation, a why.
An interest.
There has to be some level of why. You have to have somehow come across that in the process of how this person even hits your radar. Is this a person from your contact list that you know? What do you know about them? Is it a person that you met? What do you know about them? In other words, there has to be some type of context established. Otherwise, we're going into a very awkward situation. You who don't know the person is going to introduce them to another person they don't know. That's a really awkward situation. They might wonder, well, why are you doing this? Why do I need to talk to somebody else? Why can't you talk to me? So there needs to be some context established before you pass the ball, as Veronica would say, the hot potato. Before you pass the hot potato to somebody, establish some context so that when that ABC call happens, it's understood. Yes, Ruth.
So I have had where somebody has called me to do a three-way, and they're like, this person knows nothing about NECAN, but I want you to help me convince them of doing NECAN. I'm like, oh, that is a little awkward. Like they don't even know about it, yet you want me to convince them, and so that's
the hot potato. That's the hot potato call. Ooh, it's too hot for me. Here, you take it. So now, what's missing? What's missing where that person's concerned?
I think they need to find out if this person has a need that can be an answer for them.
Why do you think they haven't done that?
Fear. Rejection.
Rejection. Okay, so what work has to happen before that call happens?
Ask questions and listen.
I think what we're talking about here is if you really want to help somebody become independent, entrepreneurial, bridge the gap between the E quadrant and the S quadrant over the B quadrant, we need to help them get some context, get some competence so that they are better equipped to make those calls and to find people, because if they feel inadequate, even to make the initial contact and ask those questions, then either they don't understand, or they're insecure about it, or they don't have the context. They're not yet well versed in what the process is, so they're just doing what comes natural, what comes easy. So I think it's an opportunity to work with that person, to help that person understand the process. First and foremost, make sure at least you know that they know the process, especially that first call, because it's the most critical conversation. If you don't establish the why, their motive, then they have no vested interest in going through an information process. So it's a very important step. And rather than the hot potato being, let me just throw it off to somebody, that is a person not taking responsibility for learning how to do this first step, which if you're going to help people become independent consultants and entrepreneurs, that should be your first clue. They don't have something, the necessary ingredient to do that first step with some degree of confidence. Let's figure out what it is. Is it they just don't know that they're supposed to do that? Is it that they've never done it? What is it that we're dealing with? And then help establish some understanding of what would be the next best step. Should they call the person? Should they call with you? You see what I'm saying? So there needs to be context for an ABC call. I would feel really, if somebody called me and said, I've got so-and-so on the phone, and I wasn't expecting that, I'd be put off. So unless you knew me, unless you really knew me, and I had a respect and a rapport with you, I would be put off. But if I didn't know you, and then you put me on a phone with another person who I don't know, I'm going to be thinking, you guys are ganging up on me. I'm going to be very defensive. So already you're starting off in the negative. So there has to be some context established before that phone call happens, otherwise, or that meeting happens. Otherwise, you're going to put that person in a defensive posture rather than an open posture. And it's okay to have a conversation about it with your sponsor or whoever you're working with to determine what is the best approach where this person's concerned. Why? Because that person could be the very next biggest thing to hit NECAN. Why not take the time to do it well, to do it right, to do it with respect and dignity? Don't be in a hurry. Be proactive about doing it as best you can. Give them the best chance to learn about NECAN you can give them.
Mike, it's about building that relationship.
Yeah. Now, they may be open to receive a call. Let's establish that. What is the context? Why? What do they know? What are they expecting? What's been set up? What's the pretense around this call? Before we go into this call headlong, and all of a sudden I find myself wondering, why am I on this call? What do they know? I don't want to be asking those questions when I'm on the call. I want to know before I get on the call. Where are we at in the process?
So Mike, if someone you talk to, like this one gentleman today I spoke with, he, I just asked him point blank because his answers to my questions were, yes, I want to build. I asked him, I said, so he told me he had already had a business and it failed because he had to move and he couldn't bring it with him, and he wants a business that he can bring anywhere. And he was answering all the questions exactly right up the NECAN alley. And so I just point blank asked him, I said, so would you be interested in building a business that you could bring anywhere? Would you be interested in that? Is that something you're interested in? And he said, yes. He said, but I don't want to do business like I did in car sales. I don't want to take somebody's money. I want to give them something back. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, oh my gracious. So with a gentleman like that, I asked him, I said, would you be open to have a phone call with someone who could
Okay,
share?
stop right there.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have invited him for a coffee?
Oh, well, because he was doing my glasses. He was doing my sunglasses.
He doesn't drink coffee?
Yeah, I know. Suzanne tells me I got to get over it. I'm a married woman, but it's a business meeting. That's what she says. So.
Well, yeah, that, like, at least, no, but I'm saying you quickly threw the hot potato. Instead of you having a conversation with this guy and exploring that dialogue and really getting to know this person and really getting to find their why and really saying, gosh, everything you've said to me up to this point in time tells me, like, the lights are blaring. I may have something exactly what you may be looking for. It may not be for you. In other words, you follow the script even though you're in person. But I think based on what we've just talked about, this could really be a fit. And then maybe you might share a little bit about your story, what you discovered, and then you might even have a demo of maybe an insole or a bracelet and say, you know, let me give you an example of what blew my mind. Don't talk about the product. Just give them an example to pique their interest. Now you've got their interest piqued. You've got a rapport built. You've got their why established. What's next? Get the A on the call.
Well, see, he did. I asked him what his why was, and he told me. And then I did the wristband right there. And he's just, you know, so the next step with him would be to have a conversation with.
The next step would be, it looks like he's not saying no, so the next step would be a presentation, right? So somebody's going to have to deliver that presentation.
Okay.
So that somebody can be an A. Remember, you can leverage. Somebody can be an A, can be an upline, can be a crossline, can be a sponsor. It could be whatever. I mean, it's a presentation. So if you're going to invite the A to come in, as in me or whatever, you say, okay, we've had that first conversation. Here's their why. Here's what they're interested in. Here's what they've told me. Here's what their background. So now I'm totally primed to know who this, I now know where this guy's coming from. I've got the context. You know where they're coming from. You've got the context. We're on the same page. They've established the idea that, yeah, they want to talk to somebody who can help them move further along in the information. It's not a, okay, now I'm done, so I'm going to pass you off. It's well, the very next step I'd like to do is introduce you to some of the people I'm working with who can further your information, further your understanding. And then when that call happens, we're all on the same page. They're expecting the call. I know where they're at. You know where they're at. They know where they're at. And now we move them further down, which could be, I tell my story, tell them a little bit about the history, tell them a little bit about where we're at, ask them what any questions they might have and so forth. And then the next step. Well, here's what I suggest you do. So that's kind of how it would go in an ABC if I was brought in after that first conversation took place.
Thank you.
Right on. Now, I'm saying this because I'm very keenly aware, this is not the first time, I'm aware that this is something that is not really, really understood well enough to the point where it's automatic. Everybody knows. How critical is the ABC? Ever so critical. And when to apply it? Well, if you're brand spanking new and you've never done anything like this, then you might need some help getting through the first round of 10 contacts. And so for that, I would ask my sponsor or their sponsor, somebody who's competent in the upline, who has a direct connection to you and a vested interest in helping you get the best start possible. Further down the road, if you're going to need an A, you're probably going to bring that A in a little bit later in the process because you've already handled the first 2 conversations. Chances are. And then you want to bring in an A as a validation, not necessarily as a presenter, but more as somebody who validates the story. And so if you're looking for a high income story, you look for people who have a high income to validate that. If you're in the last conversation where you really want to help somebody make a decision to go for it or not, that's when you're going to bring in your heavy hitters. Usually, is that they come in when it's almost automatically when it's really about that kind of a decision. That's going to be something you get to know better as you go. By the way, one of the reasons why we do the Power ABC, the Power A Team call, is to be that call, is to be that conversation, to really put an exclamation mark on, do I want to be a consultant or do I want to be a partner? Do I want to be somebody who does this business and makes a bit of money, or do I want to be somebody who does this business and learns how to create multiple sources of income? That is why we do the Power A Team call, for everybody's sake. So everybody knows, okay, I need to get as many people up on the starting blocks so that by the time they do that Power A Team call, I've got 5 or 10 people who are at that point in the conversation where this call could be really, really helpful to help them make the decision to transition from being a consultant to being a real partner. What's a partner? We've gone over this. Somebody who invests their time, money, and contacts to do a 90-day blast because they want some results. So that's it. And we're well into the call, well over time. So I'm going to call this an end to the call tonight. Hopefully this is a recording that you guys find useful and will utilize in your playback for yourself and for the people that you get started in the business who need to learn a little bit more about how to incorporate an ABC into the business plan. All right, guys, have a great night. Thank you for joining.